Hello, hello, hello everyone. I'm Gemma Starr and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. This is a series I've been inspired and guided to do thanks to my energetic connection to Kata. Kata is the sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, the sacred feminine site. What I'm here to do is to give a platform to our men so they can articulate their journey into the heart, share their tools, practices, wisdom, share with other men now, coming into awareness that the heart is the path to the highest integration of the masculine. And of course, for us women who are seeking a better understanding of our men and the masculine journey. Super excited today to welcome our guest, who is master relationship coach and world-renowned author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I can remember reading this book, wow, it would have been the 90s. And my first real inkling into, wow, there are real differences between the masculine and feminine energies. And that probably was one of the founding sources that kicked off my journey into this awareness. So super excited to have John on today, and I'll be asking him some key questions that have come up in many of our other episodes of Heart Warriors. So really looking forward into delving into that. I think we've only got an hour, so I'll get as much juicy stuff as I can into this beautiful cosmic dance between the male and the female, and of course a real understanding into John's perceptions and opinions of the highest path for the masculine. Enjoy. Hello, John Gray. What an honor to have you here. Thank you so much.
Happy to be with you. Happy to be with you.
Oh, awesome. Can we get straight into understanding the man you are today? And we know you're an exemplary author, relationship coach, but how would you describe the inside man that you are today?
Well, I am a relationship coach. I'm an author. I teach relationships. I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. And most people don't know about me is that the hidden part of me is I meditate maybe 2 to 6 hours a day, depending if I have time. The other side of me is also my second #1 best-selling book was called Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. And I focus primarily on teaching people how to find relationships, get relationships, how to find love. But I've been teaching sex and making love for 40 years. And ultimately, when people have learned to use sex as a way to feel more love for their partner, then how to express that love more, then as a man, you can transcend the need to end sex. Okay, you can go on and on and on. You can have many, many orgasms without ending, and then the next day do the same thing. So that's another part of me. I can't teach so much because so few people can do that, but I teach people how to do that. That's something. I don't have a book on that. I do have a book on making love, but then how men can learn and women can learn to be multi-orgasmic and keep their libido fresh and alive throughout their whole life. Now I'm 70 years old. Talk to me in 20 years and I'll be 90 and it will be the same because I figured this out.
Oh, amazing. Well, I think this is a great topic to expand on. Can you please speak to men, John, and expand on this subject and let them know what they're missing out on and some ways that they can start exploring the possibilities?
Oh, sure. Well, I love doing this. And I see my earlier book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, which I recommend for every couple to read, any single person to read. It's so sweet about how women's needs are different in the bedroom, how men's needs are different, and how important making love is for a relationship. Everybody asks me wherever I go in the world, they always say, I give them choices. I can talk about how you could reduce stress, how you can meditate, how you can improve communication, or how can you bring back the passion in your relationship? Everybody wants to know that. I can only, if I have an hour talk or 2 hour talk or a one weekend even, just talking about how much communication can improve your life when you learn the new secrets of communication based upon gender. See, we've lost the world that used to be is no longer here. As women are more independent, you need a whole new style of communication for women to be happy. And men just want to make women happy. Man wants to come home, happy woman. It's just like we're real ABC, not so complicated. Women it's way more complicated today. It wasn't so complicated being a mother when I was growing up. My mother was very happy having 7 children, 6 boys, if you can imagine that. She just needed a man who had somewhat a gentleman, never got angry at her. That was a key thing he always taught us. You don't get angry at a woman. You can be angry about things, but not at her. You get a job and you make enough money so she doesn't have to work until she wants to. Okay, so that's the world used to be. It was brilliant. I mean, if it worked, if you could get a man who could make enough money so he felt good about himself, so he wasn't needy for his wife to make him feel good about himself. See, today, so many men are, when their wife's not happy, they get beat out of shape. They just, it's like, oh my God, I'm so depending on you to be happy, because men want women to be happy without a doubt. But if you're already feeling good about yourself, you're not dependent on her every day to be so happy. I talk to men who want to get divorced, and they say, no matter what I do, it's not enough to make her happy. Now, I don't want to live with an unhappy woman either, but I also know women are like the weather. If it's raining, you don't complain. You just put on a raincoat, put on an umbrella. If there's a tornado, you find a ditch, you lie low. If it's too hot, you just take off your shirt. If it's too cold, you put on a jacket. You adapt. We adapt because we don't have the expectation you can change the weather. Well, if men could just learn, you can't change women. Just get that. What you can do is adapt to provide what they need at that time when they're up or when they're down. And women have to understand about men. And this is something I'll start. You wanted me to ask about men, so I'll go into that right now. One of the things about so many single men today, well, look at that. 40 years old, he's never been married. What happened? He doesn't understand himself. You see, men have and women don't understand this about men either. And there's a dynamic of men feeling horny. Okay, they want to feel happier. Okay, they're already feeling good, or maybe they're not, but they feel, I want to go over to the female side, and that will make me very happy. That's the making love, the pleasure, and all that good stuff. So he's going to get close to her. And when he gets close to her, what happens, what feels good, anything that feels really good that you're dependent on to feel good, makes estrogen. Now, estrogen, women need 20 times more to make a baby, to have an orgasm. Women need 10 times more estrogen than a man just to be happy. Most women today, their estrogen levels are way low off the chart, okay, way low. Anytime you are stressed, this is measurable. Anytime a woman is stressed, and when you're stressed, you're not happy, okay? You're not feeling love. You're not relaxed. You're not feeling your best self. Same thing for a man if he's stressed. Now, for what's similar about both men and women is that you can measure our stress level, in a sense, our happiness potential, by cortisol. Cortisol stress hormone. Everybody's been talking the last 20 years about cortisol stress hormone. Well, what people aren't yet talking about is when a woman experiences cortisol, her estrogen levels are much lower than they need to be happy. And when a man experiences stress, his testosterone levels are lower than he needs. A man needs at least 10 times more testosterone than a woman to be stress-free. Now, that doesn't mean you just take testosterone, you're stress-free. No, it means you have to have the mental attitude, self-esteem, a lot of different things you can do to keep your testosterone up. But just looking at the biology, if you're stressed and you're a man, your testosterone is low. And if you're stressed and you're a woman, your estrogen is low. So it behooves us to explore, well, what makes estrogen in women? What stimulates it? Like, when does it go up in a woman? Well, that's what romance is all about. Now, let's analyze what romance is. Romance healthy romance, effective romance, is the man is taking care of the woman. Everything he does is for her. That's romance. Now, romance is not, I say to my wife on Friday night, honey, what do you want to do tonight? I'll do whatever you want. That's not romantic. It's a week in advance, having a conversation. Let's think of some things we'll do next week and listening to what she likes and what she wants. And she'll always say, what do you want? What do you like? And that's all fine. But you never do what he wants to do. You do what she wants to do. That's romantic. Oh, I'm happy to do this. That sounds great. Even if it's going to the ballet and something you don't even not interested in as a man. Doesn't matter. If she's excited about that, you go, oh, well, let's go there. Are you sure you want to go? Oh, I want to go because it makes you happy and that makes me happy. So many times, I mean, I'm a good guy, but it was like 2 years into my marriage and my wife says, why do we always do what you want? And I thought, well, you always want to do what I want too. I figure it's the best thing. She'd say, oh, let's go to the ballet. I said, okay, we could do that, but maybe we should go to this movie. I'd like to do the movie. She'd say, okay, let's go to the movie. In her mind, it's like I'll do for you and tomorrow for me. But in a man's mind, if you want to go to the movie and you have a good time, then that was for both of us. See, it's not like, oh, now it's my turn to give to you. Men don't think that far. You know, if you liked it and he liked it, then it's a score. Now we're even. But a woman goes, well, I'm happy because I know it will make you happy. And she's also happy because in her mind, she's going, now next time we get to do what I want. But he doesn't think that far. He doesn't realize the signals. So that's for the men to realize. What romance is not doing what you want. Romance is wanting to provide for her what she wants. That's the key. Now, a man says, well, I don't want to go to the ballet. She says, would you like to go? No, I wouldn't like to go. It's not my thing. So he shouldn't say no. What he should say is, it's not really my thing, but I love to do it because I know it makes you happy. See how that works? That's romantic. See, men don't understand romance. It's doing little things and little sacrifices that have an effect on her. Now, another aspect of romance that men don't understand, and we're going to get to sex, but I can't go there yet until I get some of the basics in. Okay. There's basics. There needs to be romance. Okay. And what does romance do? It says, today for you, today for you. So I can take care of me today for you. That's what romance is. I opened the car door for my wife. And I say, and she was to say to me, oh, I can do that myself. A lot of women will do that. Be practical. Romance isn't practical. It's smart. So here it's like I opened the car door. I said, honey, I know you can open the car door by yourself, but you do so much for so many people. And for me tonight, let me do everything for you. And I know a lot of women are very independent where you live. And they'll go, no, I can do it myself. That's too practical. Sometimes women are in the way of romance. They have to learn how to receive, how to relax. You go on a romantic date, a lot of women want to split the check now, or even worse, pay for the meal. No, that's not romantic. That kills any potential for romance from him to you and you to him. But they often feel there's so much pressure today on people having sex right away. It's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. If you want to learn how to find love in your heart, you don't have sex without love. And I'll get more into that. But here you are on a romantic date. But still, there's a lot of pressure on men. Did you score? Did you score? If you're a real man, if you're an alpha man, you get laid the first night, get lucky. And that's this big pressure on men. So his ego's invested in it. And he's going to feel rejected if you don't, because everybody's telling him he should. And she's going to feel, to a certain extent, well, I'm not a modern woman, or I'm a prude, or he'll think less of me if I don't just have sex right away. Because I can do that. Sure, you can do that. Anybody can do that. Particularly a woman, you can just take off your clothes and he'll do everything. So let's get practical here. And she can fake whatever she wants. And most guys don't even know. So here you get this dynamic of pressure on women. If you have sex with a man before you feel loved and you feel your own desire, as opposed to I'll do it for him. If you're doing it for him, he's going to lose interest in you. So if you want, so that's one dynamic. Now, in a sense, where women bond first is in the mind. They feel safe with a man. They have some admiration of his characteristics, his accomplishments, his achievements. What kind of man is he? You have a certain level of admiration for him, kind of a strange attraction, like, who is this guy? I'm interested in him. That's interest. That's a healthy start. Then he does things for you, and then you start feeling, oh, I feel a lot of affection and warmth and safety and trust and appreciation for him. He actually did something for you. That's called the dating, courting process. Now he's starting to bond with you in the mind because you had conversations and you liked what he thinks and he likes what you think, and you can have conversation. You don't have to agree on everything, but you can peacefully disagree. So that's called good communication. Then you have romantic skills where he provides things for you, he does things for you, and you have an estrogen response. Once you start from your mind, then your heart, then your body will, in a healthy way, say, I want to have sex with him. I want to have him inside of me. I can't wait. Okay, that's the direction. A lot of women, particularly your self-esteem is low, you'll go right to the below the waist. And any woman who does have sex right away, low self-esteem. This is my experience of 30 years. And also, if you find you're having sex with men who turn out to be married, men who are dangerous, men who don't have a job, men are too needy, these are the wrong men for you. And if you feel with those men that you feel turned on to those men, you have a problem. In psychology, we call that anxious bonding with your father, whereas you'll unconsciously seek out men who can't give you what your father didn't give you. Your father didn't give you love and support, and you felt anxious about that. A part of you still is trying to please daddy. And so you'll become more sexually promiscuous, more sexually immediately available. And I know there's some women, I like sex. Of course, everybody likes sex, of course. But then how do you feel when he doesn't call back? How do you feel when he's not available to you then? Men don't have a problem with it. We like sex. If you don't call me back, no big deal. I'll find another. But women are like, I had sex with you. Now you should call me back. We should be in a relationship. You don't care about me. They're hurt by that. It's a big, big deal because you had sex too soon. Because he cannot stay bonded to you. If he bonds sexually, after he's done, it's over. There's no bond in the heart. There's no bond in the mind. So what happens is the grass is now greener on the other side of the fence. It'll always be that way. And that's for men who are 40 years old and they can't find a woman they want to stay with because they had too much sex and they had sex too soon. See what happens, we found, this is biological research now. I'll talk a little bit about that. Italian studies show that when a man has sex with a woman he's in a committed relationship with, then his sex, when he has sex, after sex, the body makes, or during sex as well, it makes a different hormone. It makes a hormone called prolactin. Prolactin is the hormone that helps women feed their babies. Milk, it brings milk to the baby. That same hormone in men causes men to be more attracted to their partner and not other women. It's an attachment hormone. So nature provides for men. If you find a woman who loves you, it gives you a hormone, so you stop searching for sex and you only want to have sex with her. It's the monogamy hormone. There's all these books written, oh, men have so much sperm, they can make so many babies. Historically, men always are not monogamous. No, we are monogamous. But we have to have a culture that tells you, don't have sex before the woman really loves you and you love her. And that's what our culture used to teach us in some religions. You can't have sex till you're married. That's the logic of it. I couldn't understand the logic as a teenager. What does marriage do? Well, now I understand. It's having sex with somebody you've bonded with in your mind, bonded with them in your heart. Then your body makes the hormone prolactin, which has caused you want to kneel before her and say, I'm yours for my lifetime. But nobody teaches men this stuff. And it seems so old-fashioned to say, don't masturbate. Oh, crazy stuff in America. They're teaching kindergarten kids to masturbate. It's the stupidest thing in the world. It's all in the name of self-love. You're pleasuring yourself. You're loving yourself. No, it's not. It's the worst thing you could do. Children shouldn't be talking about sex, having any explanation about it, and a little gentle encouragement if they are touching themselves. We touch ourselves when we get older, but I know it feels good, but we wait. Simple thing like that. No shame, no guilt, just gentle messages. But avoid them at all costs unless you think they are doing it. Some kids will naturally do it. And you don't make a big deal out of it, but we're making a big deal out of it. Sexual preference as to a third grader. I don't want to know everybody's sexual preference as an adult. What I don't care about your sex life, you know. And the only reason I talk about sex personally is just because I write books, so I'm trying to teach people to put some sanity into it. Otherwise, I don't talk about my sex life with anybody. It's personal, it's private, but I have to talk about to a great extent because I write books on it. I'm trying to help people. Now, the next thing is what we see, crisis in the world, and many, many crises in this world. This is, in my opinion, we're going into Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, we'll be lucky if it doesn't all blow up because people become so, I don't have the words for it. You know, I don't live in that world of, except I can say Sodom and Gomorrah. It's, you know, we've normalized everything. You see, you can't judge things in this world anymore. You can't judge good or bad. See, but I don't look at things as good or bad either. I look at things, does it work? Does it not work? We can elevate our consciousness out of shaming people. And you know, shaming is not a good thing biologically. I mean, just, we don't want to shame people. So the answer that most people have today is, well, instead of shaming people, we should just say everything's okay. It's your free will. It's your choice. Do it. And that's true. I'm all into freedom, but I'm also into saying what works and what doesn't work. If you have sex with somebody you don't love, you will not have the personal power that you could achieve in this lifetime, period. Every man, when he has masturbate, for example, he feels like shit afterwards. He doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And yet he'll blame, oh, I only feel shame about myself for doing that because society shames me. No, it's because it doesn't work. You know, if I invest $1 million in something and I lose it all, I feel embarrassed, I feel guilty, and I feel ashamed of myself, and I'm going to learn a lesson. That's a normal thing. When you lose something, you naturally feel regret. And you feel awful if you keep doing it. Oh, you want to say something? Go ahead.
May I? Because I did want to, is this a good time to bring up the subject of pornography? Because in this series where I've been interviewing men, this has come up many times, the addiction to pornography, and I know how prevalent it is. And I also know the emotions of shame and guilt that are attached around it. And I thought maybe this is a subject you might want to include in this
conversation. I'm going there. I'm just providing the foundation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're talking to men. I said, remember the big crisis of men, the foundation of the crisis for men, the lowering of testosterone. It's measurable. Every year, men's testosterone levels at all age limits now, and all these huge studies of millions and millions of men, it goes down 1% every year. Down, down, down. And I remember this about 10 years ago, this Time magazine article came out and said, it was natural and it's normal. Well, it's common. It's not normal. I'm 70 years old. My testosterone levels are 50% higher than when I was a young man. It can go up or it can go down. Now, if you're not working, it won't go up. So you have to have a sense of mission, meaningful activity that's not dependent upon your wife or your family. Okay, that's secondary. That's dessert. You can't look to them for your primary source of fulfillment. You look to yourself. What makes you feel good? Well, think about it, man. When did you feel best? That wasn't an addictive thing. You feel good when you overcome some challenge, when you put effort, when you put willpower, when you have discipline, when you have your action to follow what you say you're going to do. You know, it's hard to do. I'm looking at one of my books right here. I'm just remembering probably the most difficult thing in my life was writing this book. Now, it's interesting, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Yes, you've got it too. Thank you.
I got an original 90s one.
Amazing, amazing. So here I am. I remember I made the deal with the publishing company. I said, I'd already written another book, Men, Women, and Relationships, and they wanted to buy that. And I'd done market research on it and found that nobody finished it. They loved the book, but it was too thick. So I needed to write a shorter one. So I was already kind of thinking I'm going to write a shorter one. And so my agent said, okay, you don't want to sell your old book. You want to sell a new one. Can you do that? I said, yes, I can do that. And so it's a big story, but I'm going to give the short part of it. And I had difficulty starting it. And it was hard to get going on it. But I did. And I started writing the book and sending chapters in. But I made the agreement is that I wasn't going to rewrite the first chapter because it was too hard to write. So, well, as I kept writing the book, they said, the first chapter is the worst chapter of your book. We're going to need you to rewrite. I said, no, I told you I'm not rewriting the first chapter. And my agent said, we can hire someone to do it, John, but the book is what it is because it's you. Every word needs to be yours. And I said, okay, because that was important to me, that message go out. So I remember just laying on my bed like I was on a cross, I can't do it. It was like I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. Then I said, well, you got to do it. And I got up and did it. And I feel like such a man because of that. Okay. I feel so good about myself because of that. Once I got through my resistance to step into greatness. And that's what opened a huge door for me with this book. And then, of course, all the other books, nothing was ever as hard as that one. But we all have these challenges in life. And when you choose to go the easy path, I think a book before my book, which is very popular, was called The Road Less Traveled. That's the road where you overcome what's easy, what's common, and do what your heart says is your goal. You set a goal, and then you think, I got to do that now, because you have a sense of integrity. You're going to follow through. And, I'm not saying everyone has to be perfect at this or whatever, but I'm just saying that was an example of what I feel very proud of, is I overcame my resistance. And I have resistance all the time. I overcome it every morning. Well, not every morning now. Life has changed quite a bit, but it used to be that when I was a kid, I didn't want to go to school. I personally think school is stupid. There was a lot. I think some basics are good. I think school today is even more stupid. In California, I'm probably going to have another child, and I won't put them in the school system here. It's too cultural. They're trying to put ideas in the children's heads. I want them to have my ideas. So it's a mess today. I don't mean to get too political. We'll come back to the manly stuff. But the boys are being feminized and completely feminized. And so one of the messages of we'll come back to pornography. That's enough. We're ready to get there. So the men's testosterone levels are going down, 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 down. The average 20-year-old man 20 years ago had 20% higher testosterone than he has now. It's dropped 20 years, 20%. Now, there's other factors other than masturbation and promiscuous sex that cause that to happen. One is plastic. We now see that you can measure plastic in our bloodstream. Plastic is a hormone disruptor. It makes women more masculine, it makes men more feminine. The GMOs, the fertilizers, particularly the genetic modified organisms food, fertilizers they put on it, and that also has the effect of being a hormone disruptor. So we have these hormone disruptors, and in males, it causes them to be more feminine and women to be more masculine. And part of being more feminine for a man is lower testosterone. So we have such a crisis of this. When you add that to an agenda that's been going on for 40 years, which is to denormalize marriage, denormalize masculinity, shame masculinity, don't understand the beauty and the greatness of men and the beauty and greatness of women. We're not doing that anymore. We're all the same. This is like irrelevant what sex you are. No, men have a role to play in the world, which is great. How did we get to the place where I'm watching on this screen and talking to you? And this was men that did this. Men did it, and their mothers were there for them to make them into men. Okay, but all the greatest accomplishments and achievements, I'm just listening to Elon Musk and his rocket ships and his Tesla car and all the genius of that man. It's male geniuses and some females, without a doubt. There's some, but huge male geniuses, men who went out and did the dirty jobs, the dangerous jobs, the difficult jobs, the disciplined jobs. Does that make men better than women? No, that's our role. Women's role was to be a comforter, a nurturer, a loving person, a kind person, a fulfilling person, and also to call men into action. Just when it comes to sexuality, women turn men on. Romance is not just men providing this romantic, it's also women turning him on. How do you turn him on? By being feminine. All it takes is when you're feminine, you turn men on. And what is femininity? We have to define it. What's so funny is they can't even define a woman now, and half the people in America. It's like, are you nuts? Okay, so anyway,
conversation.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But see, a lot of women don't know what it is to be a woman either. I mean, this is the confusion to neutralize, denormalize marriage, denormalize sexual differences. Okay, did I say that right? Yeah, so denormalize. Men are men, women are women. And what we want to do is come together. Now, in the past, this is true. In the past, women were not seen as capable of running a company. Men were not seen as capable of changing diapers. I think I'm still seen as not capable of changing diapers, but I can, even, women will complain, he doesn't wash dishes. But then I did a whole survey on it, and the women says, yes, my husband washes dishes, but he never does a good job. I said, well, of course that he doesn't want to do it. Why would you do anything that doesn't make you feel good? I did a good job. But that's a whole other subject. The world is all changing. Of course, if a woman is spending 6 to 8 hours in the work world all day, she needs more help when she gets home. Okay, she needs help when she gets home. She needs a wife. There's no wife. There's no mother at home now. This is a sad, sad story. We have 70% of the violence in America is 10 times more with Black people. Okay, that's just a fact. Okay? 10 times more Black people have violence. Now, why is that? Not Black people. Black people, if you go back to the history of Africa, noble people, all this nobility, whatever, great people. However, when you create a culture that denormalizes marriage, pushing men down, what happens is now we see the results of what they've done. 70% of Black males have grown up in a home without a father. 40% of white males are growing up without a father. This is the foundation of violence. This is the foundation of addiction. This is the foundation of not having productive men. And it's right, men have falling behind, but look at the biology of this as well. Their testosterone levels are going down. That's our motivating factor. When testosterone goes up, we're motivated. And women are the primary motivators of men. Mothers that are happy and fulfilled and admiring a man is the primary motivator for a boy to become the best he can be, as opposed to be happy. Men should not seek to be happy. Men should seek to be productive and then get a result, provide it for a woman, and then she's happy, and now he is happier than he could ever be. See, this is a beautiful balance. It's an interdependence between men and women. And when I say that, you have to look at the extremes to do it. Of course, in the process, a woman can do things for a man, whatever. But if she's doing more than he's doing for her, she's unhappy. Every woman, 40 years doing this, every woman coming to my office, she's unhappy. If she wants a divorce, they've given up on something. The bottom line, what she says is, I give and I give and I give and I don't get back. Well, you're giving the wrong stuff. Nobody ever taught her. And what men say, you overgive to a man only poisons him. It's like a smothering mother. When the father's not available, usually I just counseled a man today. He can't have sex with his wife. He can only have sex with another woman. Because he feels like if I have sex with my wife, I feel like I'm having sex with my mother. What is that? He's too entwined with his mother. The mother told him every day, your father's a monster. He'll kill me. How can a man have anything good about himself when the mother's constantly going, I love you. You're not like him. I love you. You're not like him. He is a bad person. And then she even made it worse just to see. Sometimes it's good to tell bad stories, big stories like this. We see our little bits of our own life in this. Then she says, now you have to be better. Because if you're not better, your father will be more angry at me and kill me. What an amazing manipulation, massive guilt trip. You're a bad boy. If you don't do good, your father is going to punish mother because he's a monster. This is insane. This is what goes on in homes. It's crazy. This is the world we live in today, where we don't have clarity how to raise our children. That's another book I've written, by the way, called Children Are From Heaven. Those are all my books behind me. I'm proud of my children, and not even all of them. So, and of course, how did I write so many books? Well, after Men Are From Mars was such a success, I got $1 million every year and then $2 million every year to buy a new book. now I don't need the money, so I'm not writing another book. It's hard to write a book. It's difficult to write a book. I'll promote my books. Of course, they're my children. I love them or whatever. I work hard. But writing a book, oh my gosh, big job, big job. So, and besides that, I've got so many great ideas out there. How can I do it all? It's like, let other people write more books, John. Okay, so having off of me, back to men again. So when we look at the biggest, I said the hormones, the hormone disruptors, and the plastics, those are two major hormone disruptors. Another is soy for men, soy, and for women. Again, the soy is not that you're eating tofu all the time. It's that it's in everything. It's the biggest agricultural product in the world is soy. They put it in everything. And soy produces, I'll give you the mechanism. When a man's estrogen goes up, soy produces estrogen. Then what happens is the brain says, more estrogen, I should make less testosterone. Because the only time for millions of years a man would have high estrogen is when he is threatened by a man who's bigger than him. Okay, so we live in a world of hierarchy. You don't attack a man who's bigger than you or who's more powerful than you. So men live in this world of, you're the boss of me, but I'm the boss of somebody else. And you go all the way down the line and you got a teenager and you say, one day you can be the big boss, but you got to do what I say now. So this is this basic biological, animalistic part of all of us. So if I have high estrogen, I'm no longer alpha male. I'm a beta male at some level. So I have to inhibit testosterone production. That's an evolutionary explanation of a biological fact. The biological fact is that when a man's estrogen goes too high, his testosterone goes too low. And that is, and for every man to know this, that is anger. Whenever you're angry, you're a girl. I like to say it that way because no guys want to be a girl. Okay. Your estrogen levels are flaring. You're like a baby. Anger, masculinity is cool, calm, and collected. And yes, we can get angry. That means we're in fight or flight. Fight or flight. That means our always when a man is in fight or flight, his testosterone is going down, his estrogen's going up. And then the worst thing you can do at that point is that if you talk about what you think or feel or want at that time, if you use words at that time to express your anger, your estrogen goes higher and you lose control. There's no violent man who hasn't already whined and complained and argued. And this is where women have to understand men. If a man is angry, do not ask him questions. Because see, instinctively, women know that if she's upset and I can listen to her and make it safe, her estrogen, and she talks about her feelings, talks about what she's angry about or sad about or any emotion, talking about any emotion, positive or negative, doesn't matter if it's real. If she expresses an emotion and somebody hears her, estrogen levels go up, her stress levels go down, and she's happy. That's why we have an industry that I'm part of called therapy industry, talk therapy. And talk therapy, particularly the counseling part of it, where you just sit and unfortunately, they just listen to what people whine and complain. Unfortunately, that's a part of the process. There's nothing wrong with that because whining and complaining also produces estrogen. And women need more estrogen. It will lower her stress. That's why if you complain, talk a bunch of women, they get together, they start complaining about their husbands or life or whatever. They feel so good. Why? It produces estrogen. But as soon as they stop talking, the estrogen goes right back down. Because they're back to feeling like victims. And when you feel like a victim, you feel like I have to do it myself. Nobody's helping me. So now I go back to my relationship and gather more things to complain about, go into counseling and complain about it. So therapy can be so destructive. I teach therapists. I had Mars Venus counseling centers around the world, Mars Venus coaches and everything. And what I teach them is you've got about 30 minutes in a session where you want to validate a woman's feelings. Don't agree with her. You can validate somebody what they feel without agreeing with their victim story. You let them express their victim story so that their emotions that are driving their life can come up and be validated. Then you build trust that way. You validate feelings. Then you come in, you explain to them what they don't know. So people, they don't know that. When a man goes to his cave, I want to just do a little commercial for recently I did my daughter and I teach classes at my website, marsvenus.com. And we recently finished a course online. It's our best one, took a year and a half to do. And it's called Understanding Men. And while it's for women only, I would recommend every man listening to go at some point, listen to that. Hear what women need to know about us, hear what women don't know about us, hear how women sabotage relationships without knowing it, so you know what you're dealing with. And then also you'll learn about yourself, because it's all having women understand men. Men don't really understand ourselves so much because we're more about understanding how to produce results out there. Women are more about looking inside. So that's very important, to look inside, how you feel, what you think, what you wish, what you want, create safety, let it come up. Estrogen comes up. Then you've got to balance that estrogen with solve the problem. How do you solve the problem that you keep having in your life? Not just processing your feelings, that's part of it. And very important part, the first part for women. The second part for women is to realize how they're misinterpreting the man in their life, how they're misinterpreting their opportunities, how they're misinterpreting the reality outside of them, and then have somebody teach them how to create the results you want to produce. And unfortunately, almost everything that you learn from your mother will not work today. Everything you learn from your father, almost everything, does not work today. Because what our men have to learn now is that women may not need our money so much. But if you want a woman to love you, you have to figure out, what does she need? And most women will say, I don't know if I need a man. I like to have a man. It'd be nice to have a man. I want to have a man, but I don't need a man. No, you have to, if you want to feel love for a man, you have to feel you need a man. Not that you can't need other things too, but if you go for one day without eating, you'll be hungry. And when you're hungry, you eat some food, it tastes really, really good. See, we're disconnected from reality. Is that what's really most important? People are wasting time, energy on what's not important, as opposed to focusing on what works. So having said all that, come back to masturbation and pornography. What happens with masturbation and pornography, there's only 2 studies online that I've found that go along with what I'm trying to tell people. Because the whole internet, what made the internet start was pornography, okay? It keeps fueling it. It's the biggest lucrative thing on the internet. Okay, it's massive. And so it's addictive. You see, it's addictive. Just like sugar in our food is addictive. So people go to sugar in the food. They know that, just keep putting more sugar in, whatever, people buy more. And then you can't compete with anybody else who puts less in. Your brain just says, I want that hit. I want that hit. Well, when you're doing porn, it's literally like taking cocaine. Not a huge amount of cocaine. You just got your cocaine shot. And your brain just goes, that is so much more interesting than anything else. So I'm bored by everybody else. I'm bored about this. I'm bored about that. And that means his boredom is his testosterone levels are dropping. He doesn't have aliveness. All he has to do when his testosterone levels are low, and they're getting lower every year for men, doesn't have to be that way, but it is. So when it's going low, your brain goes, well, I need testosterone. I need to feel alive. And that's the testosterone makes them feel alive. So you do porn, your dopamine gets produced like your own cocaine. Dopamine in men increases testosterone. Dopamine in women, in certain circumstances, will increase estrogen. Okay, so this is the big thing. This is where romance comes from, is the newness of a relationship stimulates high levels of dopamine. That will then stimulate higher levels of estrogen for a woman and stimulate higher levels of testosterone for a man. And testosterone is our aliveness as a man. Estrogen and other female hormones is aliveness for her. But dopamine is newness. It says, got to take action. It's motivation, basically. It's pleasure, it's motivation. And it's what stimulates it is danger and newness and risk-taking. Various things can produce it. Also, bright colors, loud music, intensity, anything that's intense. I'll just say this. So when you see a naked woman and you don't have to do anything except just, I wrote the book on that. I wrote another book on addiction about the brain. It's called Staying Focused in a Hyper World Rather Than Getting Off on the Addictions. It's the one with the green stripe right there. It's a big brain study of addictions. But the bottom line is dopamine is produced by newness. So when a relationship is new, or you see a new woman and she's naked, that's even more new. Oh, well, I haven't seen that. She had it covered up. Okay, so that's all this high dopamine level, particularly when it's an erotic context. It produces super high levels, like you're taking cocaine, and you shoot up. You get a big surge of testosterone. You feel great, and it goes straight back down to what's called baseline. So if you go online, you look at does masturbation or pornography lower a man's testosterone levels, they can rightly say no, because each time you do it, you go back to baseline. Except baseline keeps going down 1% every year. We wonder, why does it keep going down every year? So the next aspect is there other research? Well, there is. The Japanese, which are the biggest masturbators in the world, I don't know if people know that, 30% of the population, men will never have sex with a woman. They're all masturbators, and it's a big deal there. They even at the airport, they've got these dispensers where you can bring out women's girls, 16-year-old girls' underwear, and you can smell it real. It's a lot of pheromones in that, so it will also boost your testosterone. It's female pheromones. See, women turn men on. We have to get that. And when you've got your husband who comes home and he doesn't do anything for you, you're not turning him on. And so I have to teach women how to turn men on. I have to teach men how to create the safety and the stimulation so women can then turn you on. It's a reciprocal thing. But I'm talking to men here, and I just want you to know, if you're masturbating and doing porn, no woman's going to be interested in you for very long. Because basically, you're addicted to somebody who you don't love. And when you're addicted to someone you don't love, but you just love the experience, certainly, I eat ice cream. I love ice cream, right? So I have so much love for a minute. No, what you want, masculinity, is commitment. When you think about a man who proposes to a woman, he kneels before her. There's a wisdom in that. He's committing himself to her. He's putting her above him. Now, I'm not talking about a guy being all wimpy in a relationship, doing whatever his wife says or whatever. That's an extreme. Okay, it's a man who's on his own integrity, does things that he thinks are right, not just because she said it, but also he does the right thing rather than be right in an argument. He does the right thing, and then he makes a reasonable decision on what he's going to do. But men don't have the reasoning logic to understand women, because women today no longer need what men needed in the past, what women needed in the past. What she needs is kind of an emotional security that will help her be a little crazy. These are graphic words, but women's emotions without logic are crazy, okay? And sometimes women just need to go way to their female side, which is to have no logic at all and have somebody not say, you're overreacting, you're not being logical, you're living in the past. We can't say these things. All you have to do is do the right thing, because she's not logical at that time. I mean, this is Freud, the father of psychology. It's all been thrown in the trash because men misuse that information. Because what Freud explained is anytime you're upset, you're overreacting. You're overreacting because you're displacing from the stresses in your life. You're overreacting because you're bringing up issues from your childhood. Your own wounds are coming up in the relationship. You're overreacting because you're projecting things onto your partner that just aren't true. For example, this class I'm telling you about called Understanding Men, one of the modules in it is the problem that solves all problems. Wow, wouldn't you like to know the problem that solves all problems? That's men going to their cave. See, if you don't encourage a man to go to his cave and in the shed, which was very known in Australia, if he doesn't take that time there, then he's going to be too much on his female side. Because when men go to their cave, they rebuild testosterone. And that's how they do it, not by being in the presence of estrogen. See, when I'm loving you, when I'm connecting to my children, all of that is lowering my testosterone. I need to have my cave time to rebuild my testosterone, impersonal actions using a different part of the brain that produces testosterone, which doesn't have to do anything with nurturing skills. You do things that your own challenging things. Could be working out, could be driving a car, could be a hobby, could be a competition. And of course, what men now do in their cave is they masturbate, which is the opposite of what you should be doing in your cave. You should be doing something that challenges you, but it's not causing stress to you. Okay, that's the whole key, is that when you're challenged by something, testosterone goes up. Work can be challenging, but it also can be stressful because you don't always have the answers. So you deplete yourself of testosterone. Then you come home, you need that time to rebuild your testosterone, doing any of these testosterone producing activities, which I'll just mention here. In this book, I have long lists of testosterone producing activities. Also in the Understanding Men course, my daughter and I, we wrote all these great lists of estrogen producers, testosterone producers. I mean, this is an amazing course. Okay, it's 4 modules. You'll want to take it 10 times. I mean, literally, there's so much in it. There's affirmations, there's exercises, there's processes. It's so much better than just reading a book, but it's there. So we need, the thing I'm trying to communicate, we need to learn a whole new set of skills if we want to create lasting romance and passion. And if you as men want to feel more powerful as a man, one of the first things you can do to start feeling more powerful as a man, look at the Japanese study. So I'm coming back to that. So yes, all the studies produced by the pornography industry, which is $1 billion of industry, they're going to tell you that masturbation is good for you. They've even got this into the school system. This is so sick. Now, what they found is a 25-year-old man, if he masturbates or has sex with pornography, or he has sex with a stranger, someone he doesn't love and commitment. Okay, so this is one category. So if you do that, while you're doing it, your testosterone levels will shoot up because your dopamine levels shoot up. It's newness, it's danger. Danger, I mean, are you going to be doing that when your mom walks into the room? Are you going to go advertise to everybody, hey, I just masturbated twice today. It was really hot. Okay, you don't do that. This is anything that is forbidden produces more dopamine. So we want to do forbidden things. They're addictive. Anything that's forbidden is addictive. So dangerous. It's dangerous. I don't want anybody to find out. Okay, so he gets a huge, I'll say it, he gets a, for about 3 or 4 minutes, he's going to have the iron penis. Okay. Nothing more wonderful than the iron penis. Feels fantastic. Well, imagine being 70 years old and having the iron penis every day or twice a day. That's your potential as men. We should go stronger as we go up. So how can you do that? Well, the first thing the Japanese found is that if a man had sex with a woman he loved and she loved him, and did it on Saturday night, and then he went 6 days without having sex with her and without masturbating, on the 7th day, right when he wakes up, he'll have 50% more testosterone than his baseline. He'll then that day be more energized. He's more motivated. He's more interested in his wife. She can talk. He doesn't get bored right away because his testosterone is bumped up to exactly or almost exactly what it was when you fell in love. See, this falling in love stuff is just 50% higher estrogen for women and 50% higher testosterone for men. This is the newness stimulated, but newness goes away. You don't get that with your partner. So go 6 days without ejaculating, basically. On the 7th day, make love with somebody who loves you. And it's so much better than if you did it on Tuesday and Saturday. If you did it on Saturday night, then you had 2 days to wait, which for a lot of men, most couples, there's kind of this pressure. We should be having sex at a certain point. And before that, the man's wanting more sex than her, and she's accommodating him. Few women are wanting sex who have father issues. All right, so Saturday night, you have sex. Usually about the most common thing is 2 days pass and you have sex again. And then you have 2 days pass and then you have sex again. So there's kind of this recovery period that most men have. There's always some exceptions with this. For men that are just massively addicted to sex, okay? You can be massively addicted to sex and have sex every day and live a shorter life, okay? And you will live a shorter life. There's no question about it. This is thousands of years of tradition in India and China, all talk about longevity in men, all has to do with conservation of the seed. See, I understand all this because when I was in my 20s, I'm a kid of the 60s, right? Free love, free sex, Woodstock, rock and roll music. All it did is brought me up. Drugs brought me up, crashed down. And the Beatles said that you can get high without crashing if you learn to meditate. So I'm all gung-ho guy. So I became the guys, their gurus, Maharishi. I became his personal assistant. I taught his teacher training programs. I'm a total spiritual guy for 9 years. I'm still totally spiritual, but for 9 years, I was completely celibate. I was a monk. Okay. Basically, he was a monk. My teacher was a monk. So I'm a monk. And I never masturbated for 9 years. And that gave me so much power. So much. And it's just like there's aliveness in my life because I transmuted that sex energy into spirituality. Now, that's not going to be everybody's path. You could transmute it into writing a book. Like when I was married to Bonnie for 34 years till she passed, If I wrote a book, it was 1 month in my cave. I write a book in a month. I hate it, but then once I'm in it, I'm loving it. It's like having sex. I'm into it for hours and hours and hours. But I'm missing my family. I'm missing my kids. But that's what I did for my $1 million. And my wife was okay with that. All right, we lose husband for a month. Right, because it makes $1 million. Why not? So, but also I'm helping the world. I'm not just doing it for the money. It would have no meaning to me if it's just money. You see, that's men have to have meaning in their life. Meaning comes from, I'm doing this so that I can make a difference in a positive way to someone. And then meaning increases when you have your wife, and meaning increases when you have children. But paradoxically, and this is another thing men have to know, if they do these big surveys of men's testosterone levels of millions of men, they find categories where men have the highest testosterone. Well, what do you think the highest testosterone would be? It's single men. Single men have the highest testosterone. Married men have the next lowest, and fathers have the next lowest. Why? It's once you understand the hormone thing that I teach that nobody's ever taught before, because it wasn't necessary to know, is that when you have more love in your life, that's estrogen. And if you don't have something that's knocking your testosterone high, then your testosterone goes low. Estrogen goes up, it's like a seesaw. If estrogen goes up, your testosterone goes down. So and this even happens when men make love. Whenever you ejaculate as a man, your estrogen levels have peaked. So for me, I always have the iron penis, basically, whenever necessary, never needed, simply because I never have more estrogen than testosterone. As soon as your estrogen goes too high and your testosterone is really hard because you're the iron penis for a little while, then suddenly when estrogen shoots up, it knocks the testosterone down and you release that energy. You go back to baseline. If you learn to have orgasms while ejaculating, you always stay at 50%. Always, you're 50% higher than your baseline used to be, and over time it goes even higher because you're letting it build rather than emptying the bank account every week. So many people today just live on what they're making. There's no savings account. There's no backup. That's a great parallel for our relationships. There's always going to be time in our relationships where one partner's in a bad mood, another one's in a bad mood, or one partner says something wrong, they're under stress, they overreact about something. But you build up the bank account. So it's like, I've got $1 million in the bank account. I lose 10,000 here. It's no big deal. See, you got to build up so the losses don't affect you. And the way you build up, men, just coming back to the men listening, understanding scoring points. That's one of the ideas, one of the best ideas in both of these books, Beyond Mars, Venus, and Men Are From Mars, is for women, little things make a big difference. Big things have an effect on her, but little things have an effect on her. So think about it like this. If she's from Venus, let me just get to this. Every act of love, every action you take that comes from a place of motivation to please, to make her happy, to support her, to make her feel safe, whatever it is, every act of love scores equally in her bank account as any other act of love, big or small. So I can give her 50 roses. Man thinks, well, that should be 50 points in the bank account. No, it's just one. Every act of love scores equal to every other. So if I want 50 points in the bank account, I give 1 rose or 2 or 3 roses every week. Then you're constantly refilling the bank account, because these bank accounts they get used up. Okay, while she's loving you and giving you, the bank account goes down again. She needs to be filled back up. So lots of little things. So what would those little things be? They'd be like planning a date. You get a point for planning the date. You get a point for doing something she likes. You get a point for taking action. You get a point for knowing the directions before you get there. You get a point for being on time. That's 5 points, okay? How many points did you get today when you went to work? 1 point. That's all you get. He went to work. Okay, he loves me. He goes to work. That's 1 point. Now, if you're hungry, now you go to work, you will get more points. That's a different level of relationship. See, we have different levels of relationship. One is a survival security relationship. If you're hungry and a man just brings home the money, he gets 50 points, okay? Because she really, really needs that. But what do women today really, really need, whether they know it or not? They need a new kind of emotional support that allows them to talk about what's going on, that allows them to take some time to feel, I don't have to do everything. And the only way you can keep a woman from feeling, I don't have to do everything, is start doing more things for her. Now, that would sound like a big burden until you learn that little things make a big difference. You don't have to do huge things for her, just do little things. So little things would be affection. When you walk in the room, stroke her hair, put your hand on her, then you don't have to say anything, just identify her. She's there. She's in your awareness. That's a big deal. And if you're watching a show together, you need to go to the bathroom, just say, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'll be back. Now, why would you say that? Because some men just get up and leave. She's like, where is he going? Where's he going? Women have this sort of GPS. They need safety. They need to know where you are. So I go somewhere, I say, oh, I did this, I'm gonna go here. And that's the point. You let me know what's going on. And if I'm going to be late, I give a call as opposed to being late. These are little things, so many little things. 4 hugs a day. Wake up, find her, give a hug. Say goodbye, give her a hug. She says goodbye. Hold on, I want to give you a hug before you go. Take action. Don't wait for her to come hug you. You have to be the inserter. You're the penetrator. You have to pursue her. I've got a female dog, okay? Loves to have me chase her, okay? And then she lets me catch her so that I can pet her. And then she chases again. This is what children do. You see little boys chasing after girls. It's a natural thing for boys. They either chase after a ball or they chase after her. Women like to be chased after. These are not manipulations. This is just understanding what produces hormones. When somebody's interested in me, when somebody wants to be with me, when somebody's coming at me, I'm receiving, right? When I'm receiving, my female hormones increase. Now, receiving too much for a man only weakens him. He should earn it. That's the thing about men. Women don't have to earn it. See, women have to learn how to receive. That's a hard thing to do, because if you're depending on someone for something, you're in the mode of, I'm receiving, I'm trusting that it's going to come. And then it doesn't come. Well, now you have to deal with forgiveness, acceptance. You can't have everything you want when you want it. That's called being realistic. It's being an adult rather than some romantic fantasy where my partner always knows what I want and does it without my having to ask. So we have courses on how to ask. How do you ask men and motivate men? But the most important one is understanding men. It's such a complete course. I'm blown away by it. And then there's these amazing affirmation lists. I was just having a woman say to me, it's magical. It changed her life. She wants to watch it again and again. And I said, what'd you think about the affirmation? She's, oh, I just love this one affirmation. When he's ignoring me, he still loves me. Very important to know. When he is ignoring me, he still loves me. I think there's like hundreds for every lesson. We have all these great affirmations. You find the one, and it really makes a difference, because when a woman's instinct, this is what Freud would talk about, it's called projection, is that we project on someone to be thinking the way we think. When a man is ignoring a woman, she doesn't know how to interpret it, because if she ignores a man, she see, women are aware of everything. So if I'm ignoring you, it's because I'm mad at you, I'm punishing you, or I don't want to be with you right now. Okay, so I'm ignoring you. It's like an act that she's doing. Men are just taking time for themselves. They don't even know. They're not thinking, I'm going to ignore her. And then you understand, why does he need to ignore you sometimes? It's because he has to disconnect from all that estrogen, because he loves you so much. He needs to pull away from that, distract himself, watch a football game, do something to distract himself so he can rebuild his testosterone, but stay engaged. He has to be engaged, but he has to back off. And that's just a glimpse of what this course teaches. It's so amazing. And so we need in-depth knowledge, but there's so much we've covered already. The most important thing for the men, if you're angry, stop talking, ask more questions. What questions do you ask? You want to win the prize? You do the work. And what's the work? This is the work. Help me understand what you just said better. Okay? Help me understand better. Get her to talk more when every cell in your body says, stop talking. That's a man. Suck it up. Just like in the army. You stand at attention, they berate you, and you got to say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. They're training men how to suck it up and not be girls. Now, oh, we got to protect. Men are now in university safe zones. Oh, my feelings are so hurt. Suck it up, men. Be a man. That doesn't mean you can't be on your female side either. There's a place for that. Tenderness of lovemaking, loving your children, caring for your wife, feeling empathy for her, but it's putting it out there. Don't go whining about yourself. It's a huge turnoff to a woman, because whenever you talk about problems with any emotional distress, okay, with frustration, with anger, with, oh, I'm so sad, disappointed, I'm so afraid, I'm concerned, I don't want to do that, I'm too scared, I'm not following through. Okay, these are things that weaken masculinity, is to talk about that. It's okay, you feel it. Talk to another man about it. Now, there's a lot of men say, oh, I can't talk to other men about my feelings because they don't understand. That's because you're being too girly. Suck up. Don't do those things. Talk to guys about things that guys can understand. Use words like it's frustrating rather than I'm angry. You can use I'm disappointed this happened, but not so sad about it. See, I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm concerned. Okay. See, there's a difference there. One is grown up and one is a baby. Now, why can women do that? Because women need more estrogen. See, women never stop having high estrogen levels. Why I say men are babies when they talk about all those emotions. And women see us as babies, by the way, and lose attraction for us. Because when men are 2 years old to 12 years old, we have the estrogen levels of a little girl. There's not that much difference. Our brains are different, but we still have the emotions of like a little girl would have. So our feelings get hurt and things are hard. And so, yeah, people are always saying, oh, men turn out so bad because they can't talk about their feelings. That's a minor thing, Men feel so bad because they didn't have a happy mother. Men feel so bad because a father didn't feel good about himself. They didn't have supervision. They didn't have opportunities. They didn't have the right loving indoctrination. They're being indoctrinated by these stupid schools now teaching them all kinds of this social stuff. That's none of their business. I don't want you telling my children what to think and feel. Just tell them what they can learn in terms of the basics. That's what I learned in school. Even that, a lot was a waste of time. I was also raised, my parents are both Stanford graduates, and they went to Stanford. So in my family, they didn't care about education. They realized that Stanford education, any education, what did it do for your career? Finally, people are waking up to that. You're just wasting time. It's just like going to a country club for 4 years to have sex and take drugs to send your kids off to college. Unless they want to be engineers and they're high performing, there's actual technology that you can learn in universities. The humanities, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. However, for some people, we all are different people. Some people can get benefit out of that, okay, without a doubt, but not for everybody. We can't say everything's for everybody. And we're kind of waking up to that as a society because there was a value when you went to a college. If you got a degree, then when you have a government job, somebody has to work for the government, then you're not allowed to get higher pay. Okay. And some people are built to not be creative. They're just, to maintain things, administrative jobs. That's who they are. And then there's the entrepreneurial types, the exciting people. That's a different type. But all can have great relationships. That's my specialty there. But it comes to understanding men and understanding women. And when you have that understanding, you have a greater chance of having a love that lasts forever, a love that helps you become a better person. See, that's the whole thing, is that my wife made me a better person. I'm now in a relationship 4 years later. My gosh, I'm such a better person, even better than I was before. Every opportunity to have in a relationship, your buttons get pushed, okay? There's nothing, when I gave that little example about men, suck it up, a man in the army, you stand at attention, you say yes. You don't have to join the army for that. You can get married, okay? Don't let your emotions control you, and be a safe place for her where you don't argue back. Help me understand that better. Tell me more. And then when she has nothing more to say, you say, what else? You're a hero then. You're going to get big bucks for that. Think you're getting the big gold star if you can endure that without making her feel wrong for having these feelings. She's not always going to be so logical. And you just take time to let her process it out loud. What about us men? How are we out of balance? We're unloving. See, she's unlogical sometimes. We're unloving. Our estrogen levels, when they're too high, we have to pull away from it. We become like detached. We become distracted. We're not interested in her. And that's okay. We're pulling away. And women look at us like, oh, we're schizophrenic. One day he's so loving, next day he doesn't see I exist. Well, that's because one day when we're loving, we're needing to go to our female side. And then we need to come back to our male side in order to rebuild ourselves by not being on the female side. So it's kind of a back and forth until finally you learn to be on both at the same time. And what cultured that ability in me, I'll just say it for myself, is making love. See, when you learn to have the ecstasy of the pleasure and the ecstasy, and at the same time, the love is more powerful. So the way that works, man, is you can practice this, and many men just want to last longer in sex, okay? So many men today have high estrogen levels will cause you to ejaculate sooner. And many men who don't have that, who have so much of that loving side, which is good quality, they're just male side is weaker, you basically learn how to last longer. I'm looking at my time here. I can't teach the whole thing.
We could have you back for another episode.
Yeah, another episode. But the bottom line there is, yeah, I got my schedule. I got my teaser. Oh, we'll come again. How to last longer and sex. But the first step I've already covered. The first step is stop masturbating. Stop doing porn. What that does in your brain, besides your hormones, I already told you, it's going to lower your hormones. You're going to go to baseline. Over time, it's going to keep going down. Because it's such a big spike of dopamine, has the same effect on your brain as if you were to take cocaine. So while we don't have the research on the brain changes so much in the ejaculation, although there's some out there, they just say it's like cocaine, but cocaine has been highly researched. So what they know, when you take one dose of cocaine, okay, your first time is the biggest one. You'll never get that big jolt again. That's why people are addicted to it, still trying to get that big jolt, more and more and more and more. That first hit, what happens biologically in your brain is you lose temporarily 30% of your dopamine receptors. That's your pleasure receptors. They're just closed down. They're gone. And it'll take months for them to open up again. Months. And that's if you don't have a high hit of dopamine. So you have this big hit of dopamine. It's like, let's say I look into the sun, that's a big shot of light. My pupils will constrict. Now, all I have to do is walk into into a not bright room, and gradually it will open up again. Then you can see again in the dark. But if you've ever been in bright light and then go into a dark room, you can't see anything. And then gradually your pupils will open up and you can see things again. Well, when you masturbate, basically your brain now goes, I need impersonal sex to be turned on. And my ability to have personal sex is diminished. So the husband who's no longer turned on to his wife, he can easily get the iron penis with pornography, which lasts a total of a couple minutes. Okay, the porn industry says the average amount of time a man spends on porn, the average is the whole experience, going there, picking the girl, finding the girl, getting it going, and then be done, is 8 minutes. 8 minutes. This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. You're just reduced to an animal. You don't know, your heart will never grow, your wisdom will never grow, your motivation for life, to be of service, to be enlightened, that whole positive direction is every time you're just emptying out your bank account. That doesn't mean your life is horrible, whatever. It just means you're not going to have lasting passion. It doesn't mean you're not going to experience your full potential in life, for sure. Your potential increases as you build up your bank account. And when you don't throw away your money every week, every time you masturbate, boom, you're back down. Instead, you make love from 50% higher. You will go down to your baseline. That's the case. But then after 6 to 7 days, you'll be back up 50% higher. But your baseline won't continue going down as you get older. That's the whole key here. And these are realities. Most men should be concerned about heart attacks if you want to live a long life. Okay. Well, heart attacks only occur in men when they have low testosterone. You can't have a heart attack unless you have low testosterone. Now, why are we telling that to everybody? Because there's no solution. You can't give men testosterone. That doesn't prevent heart attacks. You have to make testosterone. So now you have to teach men how to make testosterone. And the first step in making testosterone is stop losing it. Protect yourself. And then the next step is to recognize selflessness, discipline, following through on your activities, doing what's difficult and not pleasurable sometimes without complaining, are all testosterone producers. Give up complaining. I realized this. I just stopped complaining. I never complain to the people in my intimate life. When I'm with my buddies, I can complain as a joke. I make fun of things. See, that's masculine complaining that doesn't lower your testosterone. You're making fun of yourself. It's like there was one time in my men's group where, is these people, telling everybody that one of the members, is talking about how, trans is natural and normal. We should do these operations on kids. This is good helping. This is gender affirming. Boy, talk about pushing a button in me. So I said, are you an idiot? Are you crazy? I started getting really angry in my men's group, and all my men have never seen me angry even. And they all started laughing. See, they all started laughing. And they said, John, I think you're overreacting. I said, you're right. See, that's masculinity. And that's what a woman should be able to say to her husband, honey, I think you're overreacting. Now, men should not say that to women because they're not overreacting. They're just being non-logical. Okay. They're just having emotions come up. You have to understand it. It's just a rainstorm. It's going to pass. You know, we just had sprinkles here. Yeah, that's all it is. It's going to pass. Sun's going to come out. All you have to do is not let it beat you up. And sometimes it does beat you up because your happiness is too dependent on her. So then you say, look, I need to think about this and I'll be back, and walk out of the room. And ever women, if a man is angry and using words while he's angry, you should just immediately say, you're being insensitive, and walk out of the room. You're being insensitive, and walk out of the room. You're being insensitive, and walk out of the room. Don't ask him more questions. How could you say that? Why would you do that? Well, what were you thinking? And why would you do that? And you shouldn't talk to me that way. Oh, that's just going to make him more upset. You're trying to change him. If we can get that love is not trying to change someone, but supporting who they are, finding out what are the ways I can help them in a way that's not going to be perceived as criticism. Because whenever you give men advice, women, it's going to be perceived as criticism. You think you know better? You want to? And when men, whenever you give advice, particularly what men do is they try to talk you out of what you're feeling, which is the worst thing to do. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire. And what women do is they try to improve men's behavior. And you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And then take it to the extreme. She starts then using really, really childhood issues from her parents, where she starts using disapproval. How could you do that? You hurt me so much. And I just want to throw in, because we're finished up here, but psychology is just messing people up. It's like the go-to phrase for everybody now is, whenever you're upset in your relationship, you said that hurts. Yeah, it hurts because you're behaving like a 6-year-old. See, we have a part of our brain that's a 6-year-old. And every time you verbalize that, more connections go to your 6-year-old. So you're throwing tantrums all the time. Oh, you hurt me so much. Don't use negative emotions to change your partner. Use positive emotions to change your partner. Now, I know, see, people throw out these platitudes. Well, anybody would agree with that. That's good. So how does that look? How do you do it? People need instruction on how to do this. Here's an example. For years, my wife would be so upset with me and bothered by me. Not a big deal, but she's, oh God, you always forget to turn out the lights in the living room. You just leave them on. Why can't you turn them out? And then months pass, and now it's a bigger reaction. Years pass, and it's an even bigger reaction, because in her mind, what she's thinking, if he can't do this little thing for me, and I've asked him over and over, he must not love me. Are you kidding? Does that mean I don't love you? It means I'm just not good at turning out lights. I think ahead. I'm a fast moving guy. I drive fast. That's how I produce all this stuff for you. Don't judge me for that. But anyway, so she can't understand it. She's slow paced, easy going. She turns out the lights. She sees the bills. She wants everything to be economical. I don't think about losing money. I think about making money. But anyway, so having said all that, there's two different worlds, Mars and Venus colliding. It was a little thing, but it really bugged her. And this is what happens in relationships. These little things, they bug us. They bother us. So what do? You have to ask for what you want. You don't punish your partner. You don't judge your partner. You don't disapprove of your partner. You don't feel frustrated with them. All that just saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're bad, you're not making me happy. Okay. That just doesn't work. But you still got to communicate. If somebody's stepping on your foot, you got to let them know. How do you do that? We don't have those skills. Okay, so here's what she did. One day, and she asked me, would you try to do that? I said, yeah, I'll try to do it. But there's always this emotion behind it, like I've hurt her, ruined her life, makes her, I just feel like I'm your maid or something? I have to follow up with you all the time. And the first time I did it, it wasn't that. It's not a big deal to turn out a light switch. It's not a big deal. But because I'm not responding to not a big deal, she's going to make it a big deal, because if you can't do something little, what if I need something big? You see, that's how her logic works. So it's the opposite for men. You don't understand men. If it's something big, every man will do whatever it takes. The house is on fire. He's the one who goes in. If there's a big problem, it wakes him up. It's just that men lose their motivation in life because they don't get the message that they're going to get rewarded for what they do. You have to have the message. You make a difference. How do I know I make a difference? Because people call me up and want to have interviews with me. Then I know I have a difference. How do I know I make a difference? I come home, everybody's happy to see me. If nobody's happy to me, I guess I don't make a difference. My testosterone goes down. But I'm not demanding them to always be happy all the time, because I'm not so dependent on them. One guy, his wife just beat him up all the time with, you don't think I'm beautiful, you never say this, you never say this, all these complaints. The guy's just beat up. He doesn't know what to do. So he keeps saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Stop saying you're sorry. What you can say, another phrase for men, don't say I'm sorry all the time. I remember there was a time in my marriage, and I told Bonnie, I said, honey, why is it I say I'm sorry all the time? So I realized, I said, look, I also told her, why don't you say she's sorry? She said, it's hard for me to say I'm sorry to you because my mother always made me wrong. Okay. If I said I'm sorry and you said you should be, I would just die. And she's very good at saying I'm sorry to everybody else. She just couldn't say it to me. And that was one of the best things to happen, at least for me. And that was, I said, okay, I love you. You never have to say you're sorry. That's a great message to give. It's also a great message to learn how to apologize and say you're sorry. But too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And a lot of men just give up on everything. But before that, they're always saying they're sorry, they're sorry, they're sorry. It's like they can't do anything right. Well, now you have a new phrase, men. Rarely say you're sorry unless it's a big deal. Like if I'm 2 hours late for dinner, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. You actually feel it. But if you're not feeling it, and some men with low self-esteem feel it about everything, that's also a turnoff. The man who says, yeah, that's the husband you married. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. That's a turnoff as well. So too much I'm sorry. It's a good thing to apologize. Here's the reframe. The reframe is, you're right. I was insensitive. I hear you. You write this down, men. You're right. I was insensitive. You're right. I made a mistake. I was insensitive. And I hear you. That's it. Don't have to do anything else. Otherwise, you're in an argument with her. You say, you should trust me. How can I trust you? You should say, I'm so sorry. Well, you should be. You don't really feel it. And that's the problem. When it's little stuff, we don't really feel it. And she's going to go, well, I can't trust you because you don't feel it. So if you don't fully feel it and it just comes up, then you should just say, you're right. I was insensitive. And I hear you. That's it. There's your testosterone doesn't go down, and she gets what she needs. She just wants to be heard. Otherwise, she feels like when you don't turn that light switch on, he doesn't remember me. He doesn't hear me. And by the way, when men don't remember things, which women he doesn't remember, he's late, he forgets this, he forgets that. Men's hippocampus is half the size of a woman. It's half the size. And for women, when she has stress, 8 times more blood flow goes to her memory. Okay, so she's remembering stuff all the time. He's not. That's why we're more peaceful. And you should be happy. Anyway, so having said that, I wanted to come back to another skill. So the light switch thing changed me completely. One day, she did it 3 times, and from that day on, I'm always turning out the lights. No big deal. She motivated me. What did she do? She stopped blaming me, judging me, criticizing me. So there was a period of time where there was nothing like that. And then one day she smiled. She came in the kitchen. She smiled at me. I was making a sandwich. And she says, with a big, like she's excited to tell me something. I thought we'd won the lottery or something. She said, John. She goes, John, I've noticed that you've been turning out the living room light. And I just want to remind you, I appreciate it so much. And it's not a big deal, but sometimes you still forget. Powerful intelligence behind that. 3 times. And now when I pass those little switches on the door, on the wall, as I'm going through the living room to the kitchen, I go, oh, there's the Bonnie switch. I'm going to turn that off. That makes her happy. So I'm doing it to make her happy, even though it's not a big deal to me. I'm doing it to make her happy. I know it makes her happy. I get a reward for everything. See, we're all conditioned beings inside. So we just have to wisely use our wisdom. And women have to learn not to use negativity, not to yell louder to get what you want, but speak more softly. And that's the dynamic. See, if I'm kind of soft talking, you're wondering, what am I saying? What am I saying? You'll get more interest, more attention if you don't yell and scream. That's the old world. If you push at something, it's going to push back. Just know that's a universal principle in the world. If you push, it'll get pushed back. You have to learn, what is it? Like I used to study karate and judo. If somebody pushes you, you don't push at them, you just pull with them. And with your wife, you just pull her to you and give her a hug as a metaphor for that. So this is wisdom. And nobody teaches this. People teach some things, but what they do is if you don't look at the gender differences, you tend to be going in the wrong direction. Like people who say, oh, poor men, they need to talk about their feelings. Yeah, get him into his child self. He's now 8 years old talking about his feelings. Now, there's an old Chinese phrase which says, a man should never cry unless he has a broken heart. I'll tell you, I spent 2 years crying after my wife died. So it's not like I'm not a sensitive man, And it's not like I'm not sensitive to her needs. I learned to not worry about me by worrying about her and caring for her. Because we're bonded, we make love. And when you're bonded, it's a sense of oneness. So if she's going through her pain, by feeling her own pain and being there for her, that her estrogen goes up, she feels better. Suddenly, I now am more in touch with my female side. She becomes my female side, and the wounded part of my female side gets healed by having a woman in my life to heal her. Now, if a woman goes into a relationship to heal a man's female side, it just makes her more masculine. That's the nurse, the Miss Nurse Giver, Overgiver, nurse. This produces role reversal, just makes her more masculine, him more feminine, and you think you're helping. It feels like love, but it's poison. Okay, so that's a nice note to live on. Learn how to give the love that men need. Men have to learn how to give the love that women need. Our time is running out. Yeah. What is the love that women need, men? Just to summarize that, it's women need messages again and again and again to give her reassurance that you care, reassurance that you understand, and reassurance that you respect. All the gender teachers are all saying, oh, women, you have to learn to respect men. No, you have to learn to get a man's respect. You're the one who needs respect. When you respect someone, their estrogen goes up. Who are the people that get the most respect in this world? They're all the most dysfunctional people on the planet. They're the royal class. They're the elites. They're the people that think they know better. They're the people that are ripping everybody off. They're the cheaters, because we respect them, because we respect somebody if they make money. Oh, they get so much respect. We bow down to them. Who are the most dysfunctional people on the planet? Have always been the royal families, because they didn't earn their respect. Who are the most dysfunctional men? These are men whose parents were rich. They never had to earn it. They got respect and they didn't earn it. When a man doesn't earn the respect, basically it makes him dysfunctional. And how do you earn respect? First, you do things that somebody else appreciates. And then a man is not so needy for respect. Somebody doesn't respect him. Somebody shoots me the finger. I go, hey, have a good day. It doesn't bother me. I don't need your respect. What I need is appreciation. So appreciation stimulates testosterone. Respecting others produces estrogen. Doing for others produces estrogen in them, and their estrogen then appreciates you for doing for them, and your testosterone levels go up. Amazing. And so we're fighting against addiction as men, because whenever you're addicted to something, you're on your female side. You're depending on something outside yourself to make you happy. You can do that in moderation, for sure. And what you want to do is, that's not an addiction, that's just going to your female side. Nothing wrong with that. An addiction is when you go to your female side and do something that's not productive to you and that weakens your masculinity. And that's what porn is. Porn is this addiction. It does give you a burst of masculinity, and then you're like the pupils, then your brain dopamine constricts down, your testosterone goes down, and every year it keeps going down and down, as opposed to managing this powerful force, sexual energy, where you restrict yourself to one time a week only with somebody you love. We know now biologically that that's going to at least give you sustained baseline, doesn't go down, and you get this 50% surge, which allows her estrogen levels to go up 50%. A man produces pheromones that will raise a woman's estrogen. A woman's estrogen produces pheromones that will raise a man's testosterone. That's why making love, if we're doing it correctly in a way that works, to bond you together again and again and again, and your relationship grows in love, rather than we feel content with each other, we're distant from each other, but we feel kind of bored and passive, and we either make peace with that or we get a divorce, which is typically what people do. So we don't have to do that. We have an option to grow in love.
John, I would love to continue this conversation. Unfortunately, I have to go to work. I didn't take into account the time change. I thought I was starting at 6 a.m., but it was.
I have another appointment I got to do now too. No problem. I'm happy. I pushed it to the limit. That's what I tend to do.
I so much appreciate that, and we'd love to have you back. So thank you. I'll put all your links underneath with your website and your courses, and as much as I can. So I just want to thank you so much from my heart to yours, and I look forward to part 2.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you again.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Can you please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you again on Heart Warriors. Bye.